Hello, my soccer universe. My name is Roland and this is Football Talk. And in this audio only edition, we're gonna talk about the upcoming World Qualifying games. I wanna give a little preview of what is happening. And since I didn't have enough time to prepare everything with, backgrounds, video, and so on, I decided let's make this an audio only episode. We'll actually get it faster out. I know that my attention is usually on European qualifiers, which start already on Thursday, but in crucial battlegrounds like Asia and especially Africa, we already start on Wednesday. So I wanted to talk about this and especially put an emphasis on the African qualifying picture, because there has not only been a verdict that puts a giant of the African game right into qualifying picture again, which I think is very interesting. Still, they're outsiders, but it is possible now. But it also goes into the really hot phase, and we could have plenty of more African teams qualified even by Saturday already, and it will continue on from there. Also want to briefly preview what's happening in Asia. We also look at CONCACAF and of course the European matches, where I always have a little bit the trouble of deciding should I go group by group or should I go chronologically? If you watch this on YouTube, my graphs usually show the matches in chronological order, slightly ordered by group, whereas the understandings are all group by group, and I always struggle with that a little bit because I think there should be a little bit more order in there. Maybe I will figure out the system sooner or later. And while I'm at it, yes, this is an audio only version, but I also put out a video on YouTube for this one. And you will see all the standings and numbers in there, kind of to enhance the audio a little bit, but you won't see me at least. But I would say let's go right in, and I want to start actually in Asia, where we are already in the fourth qualifying phase. We have, I think, 6 teams from Asia are already qualified, with some surprise qualifiers in there, the likes of Jordan and Uzbekistan, some teams that you wouldn't expect. And honestly, my goal is always to have a jersey for each team that has qualified for a World Cup. This was, at least in 22, one of my big goals. Now with 48 teams, this might be tough, and Uzbekistan and Jordan are especially teams that I'm really struggling of getting. But now in this fourth qualifying round, we have 2 groups of 3, where the first place team goes directly to the World Cup, so 2 more qualified teams, and the second place team goes then into the 5th round in the 2-legged playoff, where I think then the winner plays in the intercontinental playoff, so gets a last ditch chance to maybe snatch up a spot, but it's not very likely that they will get it out of that one. And so we are starting in Group A. We have Qatar, the UAE and Oman, and we'll start out already on Wednesday with Oman taking on Qatar, and all games are of course played in Qatar, and Saudi Arabia will host the other games, and also on the first one Indonesia will take on Saudi Arabia, and then the other games will play on the 11th and the 14th of October to just a one-legged tie. So relatively simple, and I think it's very much laid out for Saudi Arabia and Qatar to get the final places, and then let's see UAE, Iraq, Indonesia, Oman, who will get in there. I was a little bit surprised to see that Indonesia is now coached by Patrick Kluivert, just as a little side note. Let's go into the craziness. Let's go into the madness that is African qualifying. And here the format, I've said it before, is relatively simple. First placed qualifies directly for the World Cup, so we get 9 fixed spots for Africa. And then the second place teams will be ranked by the points that they accrue, and the top 4 second place teams go into a playoff to decide in single leg format who will be the representative in the intercontinental playoff. So it's a really tough path to get through there, although I think the African team probably has a decent chance of qualifying. Also, if you have seen previous videos, I actually underestimated the chances of making it into this playoff by a factor of 4. Yeah, I am really sorry for that. I actually think this was more the chances of making it to the intercontinental playoff than actually being in the playoff. I have adjusted this for now because I think it is much more interesting to see what are the chances to go into the playoff. I'm gonna run group through group without showing any fixtures for now because I think it's just too complicated. But we have in Group A Egypt very close to qualifying. They go on Wednesday to Djibouti. Should they get a win, they are already through. And also, if Burkina Faso lose at Sierra Leone or drop points at Sierra Leone, Egypt are more or less through as well. So things are really looking good for Egypt, but a win will get it over the line. A win in the final two games. Should they not get it done this round, they have another game against Guinea-Bissau at home, and I think they will get it done there. Group B is a little bit more open. Realistically, there are only two teams that can still qualify, although Sudan is also still in the running. We have Senegal leading 2 points ahead of the DRC. Senegal will go to South Sudan, already eliminated, last place team. And should they pick up a win there and the DRC don't get a win at Togo, not necessarily the easiest, but Togo is also eliminated, then things look good for Senegal. Sudan only have the hope that all the other teams only lose and they win. And there's also head-to-head between the DRC and Sudan. It is important. It was also important for Burkina Faso that both of these groups, the teams have actually a relatively good chance of qualifying for the playoffs. So keep on making points. Even if you don't qualify directly, you have at least a chance for the playoff. So that's true for Burkina Faso and the DRC. I would say Egypt and Senegal, even if they finish second, they will most likely be in the playoff. Group C is the one where we had the big bomb. We had South Africa being deducted 3 points, or better said, their home win, the 2-0 home win over Lesotho, was turned into a 3-0 loss because they feel an ineligible player, Debo Mokoena, who was not allowed to play. And so South Africa, who looked set on qualifying, absolute surefire qualification spot, suddenly are not in top place anymore. It's now Benin, a team that has never qualified for a World Cup. So really interesting stuff there. It throws the group wide open because now suddenly Nigeria and Rwanda also have a chance of qualifying. And let's look at the upcoming fixtures. Rwanda will host Benin. Rwanda are still in there, so you would actually think that they will give their all against Benin, whereas South Africa have to go to Zimbabwe. Nigeria at the same time have an away game at Lesotho, so they also are still in the running. And then we have a last round where Nigeria hosts Benin and South Africa will have to play against Rwanda. So, all those teams will meet at the end, so it could be really going down to the wire, especially if Benin and South Africa don't pick up wins. I still would slightly favor South Africa, but they have to win out. They definitely have to win out. Nigeria also better get the 2 wins to get it into playoff. I would think that a Nigeria team would definitely be a favorite to make it to the World Cup through this playoff. But it is kind of surprising that it got this way. In Group D, we have another big name team in trouble because Cape Verde only need 1 win out of the final 2 games, and they're going to Libya. And should they get at least, I think a point might be enough. Should they get a point out of Tripoli? Let's try that 20. Now a point is not enough. Should they get a win and win in Tripoli, it's done. Cameroon can only finish second. Cameroon need to win out there, absolutely, to make it into the playoff. And yeah, Cameroon and Nigeria, that would be 2 big name teams in there. The road for Cameroon first goes to Mauritius, away from home, and then they finish at home against Angola. So you would expect Cameroon to win this one, but nothing is that certain with Cameroon. One certainty is that Morocco are already through to the World Cup, and Tanzania from Group E will have no chance to make it in the playoff, even though it's a 5-team group. We have no verdict of how this will be done, but Tanzania's record is so poor that I don't think they need to make a verdict. So let's move on to Group F, another really tight one, and I'm pretty certain that either the Côte d'Ivoire or Gabon will be in the playoff, with the Côte d'Ivoire, the reigning African champions, of course, being the favorites there, although it won't be easy. They have to first go to the Seychelles. I would say this is 3 points, and then the Côte d'Ivoire will host Kenya. So very doable. You would expect 6 points for the Côte d'Ivoire. However, we have also Gabon. They have to go to Gambia, a team that's also eliminated, and then they will host Burundi. So I think it will go down to the wire. Maybe nerves could go through in. But you see already, the Cote d'Ivoire have not even conceded a goal. I think they should get this done. Algeria may have thrown away direct qualification in the last international window. However, they now go to last place Somalia. I think they will get it done there. A win and they're through. Uganda will have even a hard time, and same thing goes for Mozambique, to make it into the playoffs. So it will be Algeria, not Nigeria. I'm already suffering from some Freudian sleep, but Algeria will make it through. Tunisia is already through. Namibia also having a relatively slim chance into the playoff. And then Group I is another relatively open one. Ghana and Madagascar. Ghana probably will see this through. They're going to the CAR, the Central African Republic. It's so much nicer in France. In French, they call it Centrafrique. It's so easy to say. Central African Republic is a little bit mouthful, I gotta say. In any case, they go there. Should they win this one, they're already in good control. Yes, goal difference, it's technically still possible. And then they host Comoros also. Yeah, Comoros have not been too bad, to be honest. Actually, Comoros have beaten Ghana already, but I would think that they will beat them at home. I would feel Ghana would go through. And yeah, Madagascar also with a decent shot of making it into the playoff, but nothing really too big. Which leads us now to the current playoff picture. I mean, Gabon, Madagascar, the DRC, and Burkina Faso currently would be in. Cameroon just on the outside looking in. But we see already on the chances. I mean, Cameroon has a relatively light schedule. We saw Nigeria potentially could make it in. Gabon seems to be a shoe in there. So I think it's the other places. And I think the DRC is also in there. We could get a really exciting playoff. I think Gabon, DRC, Cameroon, and then Nigeria. Although Nigeria will have it tough. Because from that group you better make it in. But if Nigeria win out, I would say, nah, it might not be enough. It might not be enough. I think Nigeria have a tough task, but we'll see. We'll see. In any case, I think Gabon will be in there. I hope the Cameroon will be in there, and I think the DRC will go in there. The final spot, yeah, if I look at it currently, Burkina Faso, we'll see. We'll see. Definitely interesting. African qualifying I think it's in a way the most exciting one because it's as big as UEFA qualifying but less spots. It's carnage, and you get quite some stories in there, which I don't necessarily have the time now to really dig in. Before we go to UEFA qualifying, I also want to look into CONCACAF, where things are also relatively straightforward. Top team qualifies, and then the second place teams are ranked, and two of them, because CONCACAF is the hosting confederation, will go directly into the continental playoff to join whoever comes from South America. The South American qualifiers are already done. We just know that Bolivia will go in the intercontinental playoff as well. And while we're talking intercontinental playoff, the seeding in the intercontinental playoff is as follows. We take the 6 teams that are in there, the top 2 are seeded, and then the other ones will have to go into a semi-final to play against the seeded teams, and the seeding is of course done by the FIFA ranking. Okay. In Group A, we have a surprise leader in Suriname, who will host last place Guatemala, so they actually could get a step further. Most interesting to me is, will Panama finally pick up points? They have to go to El Salvador, so a real must-win game for Panama, if you were to ask me. In Group B, we have Jamaica already cruising, more or less. They have to go to second place Curaçao. If they win that one, I think Jamaica can already think about being in the States in the summer next year. And then we have a really interesting group with Honduras and Costa Rica, where currently Honduras are leading. Costa Rica also have only managed draws, and now it is Honduras hosting Costa Rica. That will be a very decisive game already, because it's between those two, I think, who will go to the World Cup. And that leads us now all to UEFA. And I have decided to go group by group, but you will not only see the standings, you will also see how the matches are chronologically happening on the one of the sides as well. So we have in Group A, surprise leader Slovakia, who have to go to Northern Ireland, whereas Germany will host Luxembourg. So yeah, looks like this could get really tight. Slovakia really have to pick up the points, and they had some hard time in Northern Ireland away. Not an easy fixture. In Group B, we have Switzerland being imperious for now, and it is Kosovo who have been beaten by Switzerland, who are currently in second place thanks to a win over Sweden, completely out of nowhere. Sweden hosts Switzerland, must win for Sweden already. And while these games might not have peaked in power, I would say on a Friday, Northern Ireland, Slovakia, and Sweden, Switzerland are actually games that are really worth watching. In Group C, relatively tight, Denmark and Scotland up top. I thought that Greece will have a better role, but losing at home to Denmark really hurt them. Those games are already happening on Thursday. Scotland hosting Greece, Belarus, Denmark. I would expect wins for the two favorites there. But Greece have given Scotland already some trouble here and there. Let's move on to Group D. France will qualify from that one. Those group games will be played on Friday. France hosting Azerbaijan will go closer to qualifying. Iceland will host Ukraine for a potential playoff spot. We'll talk about the playoffs a little bit later. Group E will play on Saturday. It's all Spain, Spain, Spain. Spain will host Georgia. That fun round of 16 match from the last Euros, whereas then Bulgaria hosts Turkey. A playoff spot is all that is there to play for, and Turkey really have to come back from this absolute mauling they got by Spain. Then in Group F, we have another really dominant team in Portugal also playing on Saturday. Portugal host Ireland, relatively easy. I would say in the state that the Irish team is in at the moment, and Hungary host Armenia. Then we go to the bigger groups. The Netherlands might look in control of their Group G, however it's not so straightforward as they drop points at home to Poland. However, with a win at Malta, they again can go 3 points clear of Poland and, assert their status as a favorite. Group H, also played on Thursday, like the Dutch, will of course have Austria playing San Marino, drawing those level with Bosnia-Herzegovina on games. No, they are not, because Bosnia have to go to Cyprus. Cyprus has been a nasty opponent for Austria. Honestly, I actually am hoping that Cyprus will get something against Bosnia, because I don't want it to come down to the last game between Austria and Bosnia in Vienna. Austria will also have to go to Romania. But yeah, win against San Marino is a must, and you keep on winning. I hope it will be the first World Cup since 1998. It has been a long time. Italy have a really steep task. I mean, goal difference, Norway is plus 31, Italy is plus 5. There's no chance for Italy to win this group, even if they win out. You need to beat Norway by a whole lot. Heck, you need to beat Estonia first by a whole lot, and hope that Norway somehow along the way will lose. Norway will host Israel. Israel will not stay in the World Cup. Pressure from the outside, and I don't want to say much, but since when is the US president determining which country is staying in a qualification process or not? Or maybe it's down to the peace process in the Gaza. I don't know, but it seemed kind of weird. In any case, Norway will get another easy win and will also qualify probably for World Cup for the first time since 1998. Has been a long time for Norway. They have not been in a big tournament since. Then the last three groups, we have North Macedonia ahead of Belgium. However, Belgium have a game in hand. Belgium will play North Macedonia. That's a big match. Also on Saturday, big match, Belgium are in control of this group. Let's face it. Wales probably have an outside chance, but they're not playing. It's the other two, Kazakhstan and Liechtenstein. Game that probably will not matter much. England also very much in control of the group. England will not be playing for now, so it is only for the playoff spot. And what do we have here? Saturday, Serbia, Albania. Ooh, big match, hate match. How this was allowed by UEFA is a little bit beyond me, but in any case, I think this will also be a game to watch, but maybe for the wrong reasons, I would argue. And then the last group, we have Group L also. I mean, it looks level, but Croatia have a game less and are pretty much in control of the group. And if they beat Czechia again, and they've already beaten them 5-1, then I think Croatia look good. However, for the Czechs, it's a last chance to maybe get back into qualifying. But they also have to make a goal difference, which will be really hard. But that is probably one of the games to watch on Thursday already. Although I know myself, I will watch Austria San Marino, and then let's see what other matches I will pick up. Czechia, Croatia though, or Scotland, Greece sounds relatively interesting, I gotta say. And yeah, my Dutch heart should watch the Netherlands, but it's enough if I see one team beating up on another. We'll see about that. Now, we also have to talk about the playoff picture, which is also a little bit convoluted here because it goes down with the Nations League and so on. And, group winners of the Nations League have a fixed spot. I mean, Spain, Portugal, France, and so on will already be through. I don't want to go too much through it, but basically the second place teams and the 4 best group winners from the Nations League are thrown into one pot. The Nations League teams are unseeded. They are on the bottom seed. But it will be that the top 4 ranked teams, and at the moment this is quite, it's not very, representative, but the moment will be Belgium, Italy, Austria, and Poland in pot 1. And Czechia, Scotland, Georgia, Albania would be others, and they would then be drawn against the other ones. So from pot 1 you get pot 3. And I see Germany, Wales, and Sweden in there. It's not easy. But that's basically it. But I think the ranking does not decide on home and away, which, it is really weird how UEFA makes it more complicated. I think it would be good for UEFA to actually say, let's take everyone by rating, and the higher rated team has the path at home to make it to the World Cup. Let them lose at home. But it's not what's happening. In any case, those were my thoughts now on what is happening in World Cup qualifying. I really hope you enjoyed also the deep dive into Africa. Probably I said more about UEFA than I wanted. I'm planning to record the next podcast after the Saturday game, so probably Sunday morning, ideally as a video podcast, but I cannot promise that for now. It might also be another audio podcast, but you will see how it will happen. But I'm planning on the video podcast. Sunday morning should be possible, and it should be out before the afternoon games kick off, the way I see it. But it is what it is. In any case, please let me know who you think will qualify from each of these groups. Will Nigeria do it, or will it still be South Africa? What do you think about that? And any other region? Let me know a few surprise qualifiers that you think will happen. In any case, I would love if you could write me a good review. Those really help grow this podcast. Also, any subscription will, of course, or follows will help a whole lot. So I would ask you for that. And if you really enjoyed this episode, please tell somebody else, because it really will help grow this channel, and I will keep on producing probably more videos, maybe more regular even. In any case, that was it from me, and I will talk to you soon with more things in my soccer universe. Bye!